Welcome to Mama's Music House, live from Atlanta, Georgia, home of Jan Smith Studios and Image Mill. We've been growing artists and doing full artist development for 4 decades, and we're still rocking. Today on my show, we have a very special friend and one of Mama's babies, John Driskell Hopkins of the Zac Brown Band, and you're going to want to know his story. But first, take a little look at his roadmap.
There's 100 top shelf bottles here to satisfy my taste. Losing her taught me how much I hate to see good whiskey go to waste.
So welcome to Mama's Music House, and today it is my honor and privilege to have one of my dear friends and also one of Mama's babies, John Driskell Hopkins.
That's right.
Yeah, today on stage live in Atlanta. So we're going to set one thing straight.
Okay.
While I've got you here, because I know that there's a lot of controversy about this, right?
Right.
Who originally came up with the handle Mama Jan?
So I lay claim to this. And there probably is some discrepancy in the true facts, but in the mid to late 90s when I was a student here, I believe I was one of the first people to name you Mama Jan, and I certainly used it all the time.
You're getting a little soft. You're getting a little soft because you have always taken offense to the fact that Usher is the person who took that public, but you and Jeffrey Butts were the two people who lay claim,
all
and
right.
you're hard on this now. So
Jeffrey and I can own it. We started Mama Jan.
That's it. We're going to give you the cred,
yes.
full cred right now.
Okay.
Live in person in
right.
Atlanta. That John Hopkins is the original article who started calling me.
You're right.
MJ.
I was getting a little political there and letting it get soft, but I'm pretty sure that I'm one of the first. Jeffrey and I are probably the first.
Yep, I think you were, and so that was way back in the day, way on Clifton Road.
Yes.
That you were one of Mama's babies.
Yes,
so
in the church.
That's right, the PRTVC.
Yeah.
So tell me about. I don't remember the '90s very well. You do apparently. So what year was that?
It was probably 96. 97. I had just transitioned from Gwinnett County to College Park, and we had a studio down in College Park at my buddy Francisco Vidal's house.
Another one of Mama's babies.
Yeah, that's right. And we were working on ADATs, and we transitioned into Pro Tools there.
ADATs, that's a blast from the past for you people. ADATs, how about that?
Yeah, it was a small space with a lot of booths.
Yep.
So we could all record together pretty much any time, and that's the first place where you came down and helped with the Brighter Shade record, Divine Ignorance.
And that would be your record, Brighter
Yes.
Shade, your band, Brighter Shade.
Yes.
And taught you a little bit about vocal production, huh?
Indeed. I got to see your entire listing method, and it works very well. And I've gleaned lots of wonderful knowledge from our time together.
I still draw those lines on the piece of paper.
Do you?
Believe it or not, yeah.
Yeah, it works.
Yeah,
it
it
works.
does.
You got to stick with what works.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we have really enjoyed a lot of recording over the years, and continue to.
Yeah. Brighter Shade, Kayla Taylor, one
That's
of our,
right.
our dear friends, and doing a lot of work out of that studio. And then from Brighter Shade, was that the first real iteration for you, like musically? I mean, we've all been in school and come up, but then in terms of your own identity, Brighter Shade was kind of it, wasn't it?
Yeah, Brighter Shade was the first band that we really went all in with original songwriting and got our music to, you know, digital distribution and that sort of thing. The college bands were really great and instrumental in terms of learning how to do those things. But we were all in the mid '90s with Brighter Shade, and
that's when you had hair too.
Yeah,
big hair.
I had a lot of long
Big
Greg
hair,
Allman hair. Yeah, and it was a magical time of learning and becoming the artists that we are now.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. That's where you really honed the craft.
That's right.
In the clubs, playing in clubs, and doing all that. And then, so take me from there, from Brighter Shade, fast forward, and also along the way, kind of where you are now, because you met a young singer-songwriter named Zac Brown. And
so
talk to me.
Brighter Shade, the band, kind of stopped playing in the early 2000s, and I had adopted that as the owner of the company to become my studio moniker. So it became Brighter Shade Studios, which really felt good. And Zac, I met Zac at the CJ's Landing open mic, where I was paid $100 and Jim Beam. You know, like,
lots of Jim
yeah,
Beam.
just here's $100 and you can have Jim Beam, right? You know, so I met Zac in the late '90s, early 2000s. We started recording, and I had moved to Cheshire Bridge by then, and was in Ren Vinson's studio, which was the Jungle Room.
Yeah.
And still
the
produced.
Jungle Room. I remember the Jungle Room.
Yeah. Super cool spot. It used to be Web 4.
Exactly.
And so Zac and I started working on that record in the early 2000s, and we finished it probably a couple years later, because he was so busy traveling around with his duo, and then in 2005 he needed a bass player, and I sat in, and I've been sitting in for 17 years. So.
You said you could play bass?
Yeah.
It's like you say you can dance, and they put you in the show.
It was funny because in high school, that was kind of my first fretted instrument, was the bass.
Yeah.
And then I largely put it down, except to go play with Francisco and whoever needed a bass player that weekend. And in the bars, I learned how to play and sing at the same time. And you know, the bass has got some intricacies that are a little different. So if you can figure out how to ignore your hands and still sing, then it's pretty good combo. So I was in a play called Lost Highway, the story of Hank Williams Sr., and I was cast as the bass player. So when Zac asked, I had been playing bass for 6 months, kind of exclusively. So it was a good time to ask. You know, you want to come play bass, and I played bass for 8 years in the band before Matt Mangano took over.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you're a multi-instrumentalist. I mean, I've always known you to kind of tinker around with a lot of different stuff.
Right.
How many instruments do you play?
Like most things, you know, most things with frets I can make noise on.
Yeah.
I started to play the banjo, and my fingers just aren't that fast, but I do enjoy the banjo, and I love bluegrass, and I play acoustic and electric guitar, a little ukulele, and you know, I took piano lessons as a kid so I can make noise on a piano, but I use instruments. You know, I find what I need from them, and they give me what I need, and that's my relationship with instruments. I've never claimed to be a master of any instrument, except possibly my voice.
Come on now. Come on now,
know.
you worked hard on that.
Yeah, I've worked hard on that. But yeah, I definitely have a love affair with my guitars and my acoustic guitars
And
specifically.
words. I would say that's the other instrument you
Yeah,
really.
I'm a lyric
use.
guy.
You are a lyric guy.
Yeah.
You are. You're kind of a closet poet.
Well,
I mean, I think you are, but
Yeah,
when I
thank
met
you.
you, it was always about the depth of your concepts in with Brighter Shade. I mean, you weren't just doing regular, wham bam, thank you ma'am, kind of rock and roll stuff.
Right.
You were writing deeper lyrics, and part of that was your own, dark night of the soul. You were working through your own stuff, right?
Sure.
But to me, it was about the words that impressed me about your writing. Just like the song, about your little girl, and I don't know. There's just something about the lyrical content of most of what you do to me.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I think I get that from my Indigo girls, and they spend, and the people that I strive to be like as a writer, like Daryl Scott, and they always seem to say the right thing. They always seem to put you in that position where there's no disputing that this is what we're talking about.
I love songs that literally reach out and grab my heart and also take me on a journey. I remember the song that Trisha Yearwood recorded called The Song Remembers When, and it's about music and how that really becomes the soundtrack of our lives, or what I always say is music is the only thing that can enter your heart and your mind without your permission. And what it does is it takes us on a journey, or it can take you right back to a certain time in your life where something was going on, and you can feel that again. That's what music is.
Yeah, I remember you saying that before. I love that. Without your permission. It's true.
It's true, yeah.
It is very true.
Yeah, yeah.
Hurricane to south of New Orleans and kept us stuck just north of Slidell. And now we gotta double back down to Houston, where it's hot as hell. I got a message from my daughter. I wish I could have picked up the phone. And don't you dare miss my birthday. Daddy, please come home. Gotta hope I can, with a little faith and the grace of God, I'll be on my way. I'm missing you all the time, all day long. Yeah, overnight till night turns into dawn. Missing you all the time. Everywhere I look, I swear I see you there. You with my whole world around you, girl. I'm missing you all the time. I've been keeping up with the pictures. Every night they put me to bed. And that little ballerina keeps dancing in my head. I bet she's standing there at the window. Don't let her think your daddy don't care. I kiss her cheek and tell her I love her, and I'm almost there. Tell her keep the faith. Gotta hope she can. By the grace of God, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. I'm missing you all the time, all day long. Every night till night turns into dawn. Missing you all the time. Everywhere I look, I swear I see you there. You with my missing you all the time and time again. I swear I never miss a moment, I'll always be there, but the world keeps spinning me round, round and round and round. I keep reaching for you, I keep reaching for you, I keep reaching for you, missing you all the time, all day long, every night till night turns into dawn, missing you all the time, everywhere I look, I swear I see you there, you with my whole world around you, girl, missing you all, missing you all the time.
Hey guys, John Driskell Hopkins here with Zac Brown Band. I have tough news to share, and my brothers and sister have gathered to support me. Over the past several years, I've noticed some balance issues and some stiffness in my hands. After careful analysis by some of the country's top neurologists, I have been diagnosed with ALS. Because my symptoms have been slow progressing from the start, we believe they will continue to be slow progressing going forward. God willing, I plan to be rocking with these amazing people for many years to come.
The technology and research surrounding ALS treatments has been advancing, but we still don't have a cure. Thanks so much for your prayers and support in helping us cure ALS.
So there's a different part of your journey that you're on now, and that comes with the diagnosis of ALS. Talk to me about that and the impact of that, just initially, so that people know who you are in that.
Well, I have been noticing some things about the way that I play guitar for the past several years, and I've reached out to my primary physician, my internist, my guy that I go to every year, about, you know, why is my right hand, I can't do the double time bluegrass thing. Like, why am I slowing down? And this was probably 2019. And I've had some circulatory issues, and I've got cholesterol, and I'm on statins, and you know, maybe it's the statins, maybe it's this, you know, you're almost 50 kind of thing. You know, you shouldn't expect to be fast or whatever. And I knew something was wrong. You know, even though it wasn't really showing on the outside.
Well, I remember being at your studio.
Yeah.
It was before the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I was there, and you were asking me about rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
And you held your hand out,
Yeah.
and there was a small tremor for a second. You said, "See there," and I said, "Have you been checked for Parkinson's?" I remember thinking that to myself.
And I asked a bunch of questions about Parkinson's, and sometimes it does it, and sometimes it you know, it doesn't. And that was 2 years ago.
Right, right.
So it's like, I never saw that coming. And in December of 2021, right before Christmas, I got this preliminary diagnosis from a neurologist that he thought it could be ALS. And so the rabbit hole got big, you know, and we started researching and getting more and more terrified. And then we had that confirmed in January at Mass General. And it was an anxiety sort of ladled soup that I had to drink, you know, and it was something that that I never expected. But in the 5 months that we've been dealing with it, I've come to realize that because my progression is so slow, that it's likely to continue to be slow. And while that doesn't mean I have nothing to worry about, it means that means I have a little time, and that I can continue to play and tour, and write and sing. I'm trying to I'm making a list, and this summer I'm going to sing everything I can.
Good. Yeah.
I'm just going to stockpile hundreds of covers and Disney songs and show tunes and just my favorite songwriters, and just cover things while I'm writing.
Sure.
You know, and if I don't get a chance to orchestrate it, then I can do that later. You know.
Yep. Indeed.
But I've noticed a slurring in my speech, and a lot of people haven't. But I know my mouth and my lips aren't moving as quickly as they should, and that's part of the journey that is the scariest part, because I don't know who I am without my voice.
Right. Yeah.
So that's part of ALS, is that you have the opportunity to lose your voice. You have the chance to lose your ability to speak. So that's something that I'm still afraid of.
Sure.
But the journey is about the community and about finding an actual cure, because we are getting closer and closer every year to finding a cure. And I'm only 5 months in, and it was just a matter of getting motivated to hit it head on.
Yeah. And there's no other way to hit it. You say, you really weren't expecting that. I don't think anybody expects to hear. We all know the reality is possible, that we could be diagnosed with anything.
Sure.
But nobody expects to hear that diagnosis, much less think, okay, now this is going to impact my life, my children, my family, my profession, everything, who I am.
Right.
One of the things that you've done, and your lovely wife, Jen, what y'all have done is you've created Hop on a Cure, which is your own 501c3. Can you talk a little bit about that and what it means to you to be active, to be a warrior? Because the world that we live in is not going to get any better. I don't think. I hope that it is. Maybe we can make a difference. But you're bound and determined to make a difference. And I love that about you. You always have. But talk to me about Hop on a Cure.
Well, we went round and round about whether we do this privately and just, kind of contribute where we can, and once we get our affairs in order, sort of maybe quietly get involved in certain organizations that are doing great work. And I think the overwhelming decision was made that we have a platform through the Zac Brown Band, through my involvement in the Recording Academy, through all of these things that we've been involved in, to make a difference. We have a platform that people can learn about ALS. And so Hop on a Cure is an invitation to join us to find one. And it was important to me because I wanted my daughters to know that we did everything that we could. And we couldn't do that unless we used the platform. We couldn't do that if quietly and privately. So because we have a chance to fix it, I wanted them to know that we were prepared to do everything that we could to fix it and to maintain the life that we love with them so much. And that's the reason, that we came forward with it. I think in some ways it would probably be easier to just ignore it, but that doesn't do any good for anyone. So, and if I'm stumbling on stage or walking carefully and stiffly, I don't need people making up reasons why I'm,
Yeah.
what's wrong with John?
Right.
It's like, well, I'll go ahead and tell you,
Yeah. Well, that way you can claim it,
Right.
and you can also deal with that the way that you want to,
Yeah.
instead of the way that the public puts on you to deal with things. Yeah.
And I truly hope to be on stage for years, and if I can't be, then we're prepared to put more focus on it, and we're doing everything that we can to bring awareness now, and we will continue to balance music and ALS in our household and our family.
What a powerful statement, and how proud I am of you, and how humbled I am by your grace under fire, because and you're just an example of that any of us at any given point in time could be diagnosed with ALS, could be diagnosed with any other type of disease.
Or get hit by a bus.
Yeah, and it is that. It's
We're
like
not promised tomorrow.
That's exactly right. But what you do with today is what matters most.
Yeah.
Tell me what you've learned about ALS so that we can actually help support you, and also let other people know, because you were sharing a story with me about it was your personal doctor. It wasn't the neurologist. It was your regular doc that said, "Hey, I think we better look at something else."
My regular doc sent me to a neurologist, and he didn't find anything that he thought pointed to anything other than change your diet, get more sleep,
The usual suspect.
Yeah. And
you're getting old.
right. So right, you're almost 50.
Yeah.
Right. So I went to a second neurologist on the recommendation of a band doctor, and he said the same thing. And these are great doctors.
Yeah.
So I went back to my primary care doctor, and he said, I know you.
Right.
And he did the walking tests, these typical ALS tests. And he said, I want to rule out something. I want you to go see another guy. And so they tested specifically for it. I think the first two guys missed it because it was so slight.
And they were testing maybe for a lot of other things.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. And the ALS docs, a lot of them will say, we don't know everything. And that's the problem with ALS, is that it could be the combination of a dozen different diseases that manifest in degenerative neuromuscular problems.
Yeah, it can mask the symptoms.
It could be 10 different things. I mean, why is it that a football player gets it and then within a year he's in a chair?
Right.
But I've maybe had it for 3 years. Is it my biome? Is it the time that I fell and hit my head?
Yeah.
Is it
they don't know.
They don't know.
They don't know.
And so that's part of the journey is trying to figure out what is killing the motor neurons.
Right.
ALS is a degenerative neuromuscular disease that affects motor neurons in your brain and in your spinal column. So without getting too crazy with the descriptions, if you only have motor neuron problems in your brain, but you don't in your spinal column, that's generally called PLS,
right.
But it's under the ALS umbrella. And it's possible that I'm more PLS than ALS, but there's no PLS foundation. It's still motor neuron problems. It's still the same issue. And I'm still seeing the same symptoms, just more slowly. So at this point, my regular doc was the guy who decided that we needed to explore that. And after we went to Mass General, we went to Emory, and we got a third opinion. So we've had 3 people concur that this is ALS, and the treatments are underway. For me, I'm taking almost 40 pills a day,
Wow.
trying to do supplements and medications that that are effective for slowing the process, and we're looking at new ones all the time.
Yeah. And living as healthy as you can within the
Yes.
confines of what you're dealing with, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So water's good.
Yes, I'm
Staying
trying to
hydrated.
drink 125 ounces of water a day.
See, I was right about that a long
That's
time
right.
ago, wasn't I?
That's right.
That's great, though, and I'm great that you are healthy in it, because I think that matters a whole lot. And not only healthy, physically, what you're doing with your body, but your mind and your spirit. How are you keeping yourself focused? And I know it's hard. I don't want to belittle the fact that you said you've been hit by a freight train.
Yeah.
And it just continues because we don't know all of the things about ALS, and so some of it you find out as you go. How are you keeping your heart and your spirit up?
I've got an amazing support system. People that care about me have really come forward, and my wife is incredible, and she's taking care of me every day. Probably,
Shout out to Jen.
Yes, probably more than I need,
Yeah.
and it's important that I continue to do for myself, and
Sure.
and a lot of people are reaching for me to help me get up, and I'm like, no, I'm getting up,
Yeah.
There's some things that I need help with, and there's some that I don't, and I think it's like I tell students at KSU, where I'm an artist in residence, what's the advice that you give to young musicians? And I say, well, don't quit. If you're in music and you decide you want to be a musician and you're 20 years old, and it's like, oh, this is hard, I'm going to go get a job doing something else, then you didn't give it a shot. Like, you can't quit. And it applies to everything. You can't quit with this diagnosis. You can't quit with the career that drives you, even though it's hard and doesn't seem to be paying off. Everyone who really wants a life in music can have that. They just have to find a way to make it work for them.
That's right. That's right.
And it's that it goes back to persistence and to drive. And luckily, have not been lacking in drive, but it's my support system that allows me to continue, and allows me to get out of bed every day. We're talking to naturopathic doctors. We're talking to all the finest at all the hospitals and universities that are doing so many amazing things to find a cure, and the melding of those, the herbal tea and the lots of water, but also the rilazole or the medications that are coming beyond the rilazole. Things like that are all promising, and we're continuing to fight for a win.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's really amazing that in the midst of all of it, your will to thrive is so apparent, and it's also what not only gives you hope, but it gives other people hope to see that yes, they can fight and they should fight. We love you, and you know that, so we're fighting with you. And one of the things that people can do is jump on right now and hop on a cure and text us, send us donations. We want to make sure that we're making a difference for ALS and making a difference for John and people like John, and for the research to continue, and also for people to really understand more about a disease that's rather elusive, that we don't know a lot about. So it'd be a great thing for you guys to pay attention now and see what you can do to help us fight.
No doubt you've already heard of the Ice Bucket Challenge, and maybe you've participated too. But what do you know about the disease behind this challenge, known as ALS or MND? ALS stands for amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. It is a motor neuron disease, and therefore in some countries better known as MND. In the US, the disease is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, after a famous baseball player who died of ALS. ALS is a neurologic disorder that causes increasing muscle weakness and eventually paralysis, which, in most cases, is fatal. Our brain sends signals through our nervous system to make our muscles move. ALS affects the motor neurons that carry these signals. The neurons in the brain and the spinal cord degenerate and die, causing the muscles to gradually weaken and the brain to lose control over voluntary muscle movement. This leads to all sorts of problems, such as increasing loss of mobility in the limbs and difficulties with speech, swallowing, and even breathing. ALS is an irreversible and progressive disease. Patients usually die within 3 to 5 years after diagnosis, primarily due to failure of the respiratory muscles. Each year, 1 to 2 people per 100,000 are diagnosed with ALS. Scientists don't yet know how or why the disease develops, and unfortunately there is no cure or treatment today. It is currently only possible to slow down the progression of the disease. In other words, a lot of money is needed to fund ALS research. So, when you pour a bucket of ice water over your head, don't forget to also make a donation.
So, you know, one of the things that people probably don't think of the most is how do other people respond? I mean, people know that you've been diagnosed and they say they're sorry. But nobody can really be sorry enough, you know what I'm saying? What are some things that you can share with us that would be helpful for other people to know? Because people don't know, and we can't really be where you are or know how you feel or the things that you're going through, but we want to go through it with you because we are a community. How can we be the most supportive to you and to other people with ALS?
I think, and here again, I'm a newbie to speak for the ALS community, but in my personal experience, I think it's comforting when someone says, "Can I help you with that?" Or instead of just reaching in and grabbing, I think pay attention to the person's specific need and ability level. Everyone's so different in this. There are some people that have been predicted to have been gone for a long time and are still years beyond their end date, and still walking and talking. And I know a guy who's had a 7-year diagnosis and he's on crutches, and that's it.
Wow, yeah.
You know, and it's just, I think everyone is so different in this. We need to continue to bring awareness about the research. So many people that I've told have been like, "Oh wow, that's not good," and they have no idea what it is that's happening. It's not like cancer where we know there's a cell eating you. You know, it's the basics is your brain is going to stop moving all of your muscles.
Right.
That's the basic.
Yeah.
All of them.
And you're aware of that while it's happening.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think, you know, when people do meet ALS patients, they need to recognize that motor functions are compromised, and whether they're in an early stage like me or a progressive stage, their mind is sharp. Their mind is 100%.
Yeah.
And they are trapped in a body that doesn't move and doesn't swallow.
It's not participating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, and these guys that have become my new heroes, like Steve Gleason, you know, communicates with his eyes on a video screen, moves his chair, talks to his kids. You know, after his documentary wrapped in 2015, he had a daughter. You know, his life is moving on.
Yeah.
And he feels when you touch his hand. You know, he's not paralyzed. He's immobilized.
He's a person.
Yes.
Yeah.
He feels everything, and so there is meaning to that, and there is a reason to continue.
Yeah.
So I think compassion is important with talking to ALS patients, but also education is important, and the fact that we are so close, it means that it's something we can fix. So there's hope.
There is hope, and I think that most people would associate ALS with the Ice Bucket Challenge,
Right.
because but that brought some awareness.
Yes.
It brought awareness to the disease itself, and also to how many people have been diagnosed with various and sundry forms of it that we're just finding out about. So
Yeah.
you're doing everything that you can do to bring awareness, and we want to do everything we can do to support you. So first of all, thank you. Thank you for being here with me today
Thank
and
you
sharing
so
this.
much.
You're very welcome. You know I love you.
I love you.
And for other people to be able to share their love and to spread their love, we want to have them get involved with you in your hop on a cure, and to really see what we can do to add to that. So to kind of wrap this up and let everybody know, ALS is ugly. It's a freight train that hits you in a way that you never expected. And what we want to do is we want to be able to stop that. We want to cure it, and we want to help our friends, our community, our people who need our help. So step up, hop on a cure with us, and this is the way that you can do that. Thank you for being with me today on Mama's Music House, and shout out to John Hopkins for coming in and sharing his story with us. And if that story touched your heart, like I know it touches all of ours, join our community in helping John and helping all the victims of ALS. And if you want to know how you can do that, here's how.